Well, an ancient discovery is shedding light on the early church. The Megiddo mosaic dates back nearly 2,000 years.
Most people don't realize that some of the earliest Christians didn't worship in grand cathedrals, but in secret spaces. So what if one of these hidden churches was buried under a high-security prison for nearly 1,800 years? That's exactly what happened in Israel, when a routine expansion of Megiddo Prison led to the discovery of an ancient Christian mosaic that possibly dated back to the 3rd century. Some experts are calling it the biggest biblical find since the Dead Sea Scrolls. But what secrets does it hold about the early followers of Jesus? Let's find out. The discovery at Megiddo Prison. In 2005, what started as a routine expansion project at Megiddo Prison in northern Israel turned into one of the most significant archaeological discoveries in modern history. At the time, the Israeli Prison Service had planned to construct a new wing for inmates, and this required excavation work on the prison grounds. As construction crews dug into the earth, they uncovered something no one could have expected or even imagined. It was a carefully designed mosaic floor that was buried beneath layers of dirt and time. In case you are wondering what a mosaic is, come with me. A mosaic is a unique form of art where small pieces of colored stone, glass, or other materials, known as tesserae, are carefully arranged to create scenes of nature, geometric patterns, or inscriptions. This artistic technique was widely used in ancient times, especially during the Roman period, to decorate homes, temples, public buildings, and places of worship. Mosaics were particularly common in archaeological sites in the era of the New Testament, as they served as aesthetic expressions of cultural or religious beliefs. Seeing the unusual nature of the discovery, prison officials immediately stopped construction and alerted the Israel Antiquities Authority. A team of archaeologists that was led by Dr. Yotam Tepper arrived on site to investigate. They carefully brushed away centuries of dust and debris to uncover an elaborate mosaic floor. To everyone's surprise, it was unbelievably well preserved given how long it has been in existence. After a lot of deliberations, it was agreed that the mosaic had been there for 1,800 years. The patterns, symbols, and inscriptions hinted at something extraordinary. But it wasn't until they translated the Greek text that they realized the true importance of their discovery. Among the inscriptions on the mosaic was a phrase that took the archaeologists by surprise. It read, "God Jesus Christ." This was a huge discovery, as Christianity was still an underground movement in the 3rd century AD and was often practiced in secrecy due to Roman persecution. The presence of this inscription suggested that the site had once been a house church, where some of the earliest followers of Christianity gathered in secret to worship. Another intriguing inscription referenced a woman named Akeptis, identified as a donor. It read, "The God-loving Akeptis has offered the table to God Jesus Christ as a memorial." The mention of a table, instead of an altar, provided further evidence that this was not a traditional church, but rather a place for communal worship. This strongly suggested early Christian rituals and possibly an early form of the Eucharist. That was not all. The mosaic also featured a fish, one of the earliest symbols of Christianity, that further confirmed that this was a place where believers secretly practiced their faith. At the time, the surprising discovery challenged existing historical timelines that suggested Christianity may not have been more widespread in the region earlier than previously believed. For the prison administration, this discovery presented both an opportunity and a hurdle that needed to be jumped. You see, Megiddo Prison was an active high-security facility, and the newly uncovered site was directly beneath an area designated for construction. Warden Hannah Barag and other prison officials had to decide whether to continue building over the site or halt construction to allow further excavation. They recognized the global historical and religious significance of the discovery. Thus, the Israeli authorities quickly decided to protect the site. Construction was paused, and archaeologists were allowed to fully investigate the ancient mosaic. As news of the discovery spread, historians, religious scholars, and archaeologists from around the world took an interest in Megiddo. The idea that an early Christian worship site had been preserved, undisturbed for nearly 2 millennia, fascinated experts and caused debates about its implications. Some even suggested that the site might alter our understanding of how Christianity spread in the ancient world. Surprisingly, some prison inmates were involved in the excavation efforts under close supervision. For many, this was a rare and profound experience. Some reportedly felt a spiritual connection to the site. Remember, Megiddo was a maximum security prison that had all types of hardened criminals. This experience led many to find their faith and to believe in a higher being. The history of the mosaic and the worship hall. The Megiddo mosaic was created by an artist named Brucius. Unlike a simple laborer, Brucius was a skilled craftsman who approached his work with great precision and artistry. The level of care and dedication he put into this mosaic is evident in the density and arrangement of the tesserae as they form a visually stunning composition. What makes the Megiddo mosaic truly special, however, are the three rectangular sections containing Greek inscriptions and a central circular design featuring two fish. The choice of imagery, or rather, the deliberate lack of certain images, reveals the religious sentiments of those who use this space for worship. In ancient art, the inclusion or omission of human and animal figures often carried religious significance. The hall discovered at Megiddo Prison dates back to the 3rd century AD, which makes it one of the oldest known Christian gathering places ever found. What makes this site even more intriguing is its unusual location. It was built inside a Roman military encampment. This means that early Christian worship was not only happening in secret, but may have included Roman soldiers themselves. A surprising revelation, considering that Christianity was still illegal in the empire at the time. Historical records indicate that the site was part of a larger Roman military base that housed the Legio VI Ferrata, which is also known as the 6th Ironclad Legion. This elite legion had been stationed in Judea following the Jewish revolt of 132 to 136 AD. The presence of a Christian worship site within such a stronghold suggests that Christianity had quietly begun to spread within the Roman military ranks long before Emperor Constantine made it the official religion of the empire in the 4th century. One of the biggest clues to this military-Christian connection is found in the mosaic inscription itself. The name Gaianus, a centurion, appears as one of the benefactors who contributed to the mosaic's creation. The fact that a Roman military officer donated funds for a Christian worship space speaks volumes about the early influence of Christianity within the Roman army. This contradicts the traditional belief that all Roman soldiers were loyal to the empire's pagan gods. Instead, it suggests that some soldiers, perhaps even in secret, had begun embracing the teachings of Jesus Christ. The worst of these persecutions came under Emperor Diocletian between 284 to 305 AD. This man launched one of the most aggressive campaigns against Christians in history. He was known as the Great Persecutor because his orders included destroying Christian places of worship, burning scriptures, and executing believers who refused to renounce their faith. If the Megiddo Worship Hall was still in use during his reign, it is possible that it was either shut down by Roman authorities or abandoned out of fear. Right now, you might be wondering, why was this Christian site abandoned? Historical records indicate that by the 4th century AD, the Christian community that once gathered here vanished. There are several possible explanations for this disappearance. One theory is that the site may have been discovered by Roman authorities and shut down during one of the many waves of persecution against Christians. At the time, Christianity was still illegal, and those caught practicing it could be arrested or even executed. Yes, the Christianity that a significant portion of the earth now practices freely used to be a hidden religion. Another possibility is that the site became obsolete after Emperor Constantine legalized Christianity in the early 4th century. Once Christianity was recognized and allowed to be practiced publicly, small hidden worship sites like this one may have simply been abandoned in favor of larger, more official churches. A third theory suggests that natural disasters, such as earthquakes, which were common in the region, may have played a role in the site's abandonment. Growing populations, wars, or even local conflicts could have led to the structure being left behind and eventually buried under centuries of debris. The Megiddo mosaic and the divinity of Jesus. The discovery of the Megiddo mosaic is one of the most important archaeological breakthroughs related to early Christianity. While many ancient artifacts have provided insight into the spread of the Christian faith, few offer direct evidence of how early believers viewed Jesus Christ. What makes this mosaic so extraordinary is its Greek inscription, which contains the phrase, "To God Jesus Christ." This phrase might seem simple, but its implications are deeper. It is one of the earliest known written declarations of Jesus as divine. In many ways, it challenged the idea that belief in Jesus' divinity only developed over time and was formally established centuries later at the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD. Instead, it suggests that even in the early 3rd century AD, before Christianity was legally recognized, some believers already worshiped Jesus as God. The significance of this discovery is heightened by the fact that it predates Emperor Constantine's Edict of Milan in 313, which granted Christianity legal status within the Roman Empire. More than the groundbreaking inscription, the Megiddo mosaic contains powerful Christian symbols that reveal even more about early worship practices. One of the most important symbols believed to be present in the mosaic is the fish, a widely recognized symbol of early Christianity. In the early centuries of Christianity, believers often used the fish symbol as a secret sign of their faith, especially during times of persecution. The Greek word for fish, ichthys, was an acronym for Jesus Christos Theos Soter, and it is translated to mean Jesus Christ, Son of God, Savior. If the Megiddo mosaic contains two fish, as some researchers believe, it would align with the Christian tradition of using the fish symbol to identify places of worship and signal faith in Jesus. This symbol appears in other early Christian sites, including catacombs in Rome, where persecuted Christians gathered in secret. In addition to the fish, the dedication of a table in honor of Jesus Christ strongly suggests that Christian rituals took place here. Scholars believe that this hall may have been a space where believers gathered for communal worship and the Eucharist to further strengthen their faith through shared meals and prayers. The archaeologists, scholars, and theories. The mosaic is not the first mystery to be discovered. In fact, before it was the Dead Sea Scrolls, which were discovered in 1947. How did it happen? Well, a Bedouin shepherd searching for a lost goat stumbled upon a cave near the Dead Sea. That was where he found clay jars filled with ancient scrolls. Over the next decade, archaeologists uncovered nearly 1,000 scrolls hidden in 11 caves around Qumran. These scrolls were written between the 3rd century BCE and the 1st century CE. They contain some of the oldest known copies of the Hebrew Bible, along with prayers, legal texts, and religious writings of a mysterious Jewish sect known as the Essenes. The scrolls transformed people's understanding of Jewish history and biblical texts by proving that the Old Testament had remained largely unchanged for centuries. Before their discovery, the oldest known Hebrew Bible manuscripts dated back only about 1,000 years. The scrolls provided a direct link to ancient religious thought, just like the Megiddo mosaic does for early Christianity. The Megiddo mosaic, much like the Dead Sea Scrolls, was found by accident, only that this time it was during a routine prison expansion in 2005. Just as the Dead Sea Scrolls revealed secrets about Judaism before and during the time of Jesus, the Megiddo mosaic sheds light on some of the earliest Christian believers. The discovery of the Megiddo mosaic was not just a random event. It was the result of dedicated work by archaeologists, scholars, and historians who recognized its importance. One of the people whose name should not be forgotten so soon is Dr. Yotam Tepper, a leading archaeologist from the Israel Antiquities Authority. Dr. Tepper was overseeing the excavation work at Megiddo Prison in 2005 when he and his team unearthed the mosaic floor hidden beneath the prison grounds. His expertise in Roman-era settlements and ancient sites played an important role in understanding the context of this discovery. Another key figure in the investigation was Professor Leah Deseni from Hebrew University, an expert in ancient Greek inscriptions. When the mosaic was uncovered, it was her work in translating the text that helped scholars understand the significance of the inscriptions. Imagine discovering something as huge as that with no one to translate. The significance of the mosaic could have been watered down. The phrase, "to God Jesus Christ," became a jaw-dropping piece of evidence for understanding how early Christians viewed Jesus. Deseni's translations also revealed the names of donors, such as Akeptus and Gaianus, which provided an intimate glimpse into the early Christian community that worshipped in this space. Further historical context was provided by Dr. Stephen Notley, a professor at Nyack College in New York, who is known for his research on early Christian worship sites. Dr. Notley contributed ample insight into the broader historical significance of the site to connect the mosaic to other early Christian discoveries. His work supported the idea that Christianity was already well established in the region before it gained legal recognition in the Roman Empire. Where is the mosaic today? After the discovery of the Megiddo mosaic in 2005, the Israeli government faced a difficult challenge. They were torn between preserving an important archaeological site or to keep excavating for the development of a high-security prison. Megiddo Prison, which was located in northern Israel, was a functioning facility that housed hundreds of inmates. The presence of an ancient Christian worship hall beneath the prison grounds created a different kind of problem that had never been seen before. On one hand, the mosaic was a historical treasure that could provide new insight into early Christian communities. On the other, the prison could not simply be shut down or relocated overnight. Archaeologists and government officials had to decide, should the mosaic be left in place or should it be removed and preserved elsewhere? In the end, the decision was made to remove the mosaic to protect it from damage, environmental wear, and possible destruction due to ongoing prison operations. While some historians and religious leaders wished for the site to be turned into a protected heritage area, practical concerns made this impossible. The removal of the mosaic was carried out carefully and methodically to ensure that its delicate details and inscriptions remained intact. Specialists worked alongside the Israel Antiquities Authority to safely extract the mosaic from its original location and preserve an extraordinary piece of early Christian history. In 2024, nearly 2 decades after its discovery, the Megiddo mosaic found a temporary home at the Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C. The museum, which is known for its vast collection of biblical artifacts and manuscripts, unveiled the mosaic as part of a special exhibit. This exhibit was set to run until July 2025 and will allow visitors from around the world to see one of the earliest known Christian inscriptions referring to Jesus as God. The public reaction to the mosaic's exhibition was quite positive. Historians, archaeologists, and theologians were thrilled to have a chance to study the artifact up close. Religious communities, particularly Christians, viewed the mosaic as an important link to the faith's earliest days. Some visitors described it as a moving and powerful experience that solidified the historical reality of Christianity's presence in the region long before Emperor Constantine's conversion. However, there were also some controversies surrounding the decision to house the mosaic in the United States rather than keeping it in Israel. Some critics argued that such an important artifact should remain in the country where it was discovered. Others worried that the mosaic could eventually be forgotten or lost to private collections, rather than being permanently displayed in a dedicated Christian heritage site in Israel. Despite these concerns, the Museum of the Bible's exhibit has given millions of people an opportunity to witness this extraordinary discovery firsthand and to keep the conversation about early Christianity and biblical archaeology alive. While the mosaic is currently in Washington, D.C., discussions are already underway about its permanent future home. Some experts believe it should be housed in Israel's National Museum, where other important archaeological finds from the Holy Land are displayed. This would ensure that the artifact remains accessible to scholars and the public in the region where it was found. Others have proposed creating a dedicated Christian heritage site at Megiddo itself. This idea would involve establishing a museum or visitor center near the prison, where the mosaic and any future discoveries could be showcased to interested people. Such a project would not only honor the site's Christian history, but also attract pilgrims and tourists interested in biblical archaeology. Meanwhile, archaeologists continue to explore Megiddo. Yes, you guessed correctly, they are hoping to uncover even more structures and artifacts that relate to early Christianity. Some experts believe that the site may hold additional inscriptions, places of worship, or even evidence of Christian burial grounds. If further discoveries are made, it could transform Megiddo into one of the most important early Christian archaeological sites in the world. What do you think of the Megiddo mosaic? Do you also agree it should be moved back to its original site of discovery? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoy this video, don't hesitate to like, share, and subscribe to this channel.